Well, as you can see, we are still having some technical problems on my end. And I want to wish everybody a good morning, Sunday morning. It is 23, and it is currently 10 minutes to 10 a.m. And I'm coming on here early to introduce everybody to the copyright disclaimer and a few other announcements before we get started this morning with the Sunday morning edition of the Paranormal Weekend Morning Brew Show. And let's see here. This channel may use some copyrighted materials without specific authorization of the owner, but falls under the Fair Use Act of 1976. Furthermore, Nighthawk High Strangeness podcast channel and all the podcasts do declare fair use of any and all content, that's any and all content, to be used for the sole purpose of informing you, the viewing family, of information for educational purposes, general knowledge, criticism, commentary, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, research, and parody, where Fair Use Act of 1976 permits. Section 7, subsection 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976, otherwise known as the Fair Use Act. Furthermore, Nighthawk High Strangeness podcast channel uses the Splice app for all of its advertising music and advertising needs and short videos. So that being said, let me take that down. I'm going to get right into a few of the announcements here. As always, we would really like you to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, let's see, Rumble, Twitch, Twitter, Truth Social, and of course YouTube. If you can subscribe, that would be greatly appreciated. But that is the Weirdo Warrior motto. Let's see here. I had a long day yesterday, everybody, so bear with me. All right. Let's see here. Let's get that off of there and look at something a little bit more appropriate for right now. We are going to talk about the Flatwoods Festival in Flatwoods, West Virginia, which is coming up. It's got several, as you can see, several good speakers here. Flatwoods Monster Convention. It's going to be at the Flatwoods Monster Museum is one of the sponsors. There's going to be a costume contest, all kinds of guest speakers. Dave Spank's World of Weird is going to be there. Small Town Monsters is going to be there. Definitely a really, really, really great event to go to. If you get a chance to go to it in Flatwoods, West Virginia, just off of, I think it's I-79, actually, that runs south and north along the Appalachian Mountains and into Tennessee and Kentucky. Alrighty, let's see here. What else we got? We've got, speaking of the Flatwoods Monster, if you're going to be entering the contest, you got to know how to dress for the contest. The costume contest for the Flatwoods Monster is you're supposed to look like a robotic kind of let's say a robotic maid. I get his picture of Feather Duster in that thing's hands. Anyways, that being said, another thing we've got going on is coming with the East Coast But Reached organization. They're meeting. It's going to be in Wires Cave, Virginia. Okay, you can contact East Coast Bigfoot Research Organization person, founding person, Daniel Benoit. But it will be at Wires Cave in Virginia at the Pavilion. And that's just going to be September 2nd from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. So long and deep, everybody. And we all know the mysteries behind them, all the missing people and time slips and weird lights and weird creatures being seen. Yep. 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 Alrighty. Let me put that off. Okay. Well, we are going to be talking this morning creature. Might have us for a whole show. Isn't that right, G? That's right.
What time is it? Where am I at? What day is it? Do I have my pants on? Yeah. Okay.
First off, I want to say thank you to Dennis and G for taking care of yesterday for me.
Yeah, it was a little bit of a trial.
Go ahead, Dennis. I heard you.
Yeah, it was sort of a little rundown for me on that. I could kind of get my training going there. I'm hoping this Wednesday will do the trick there, and I'll get started with you guys on this podcasting stuff. But anyway.
Yeah, I'm looking awfully red.
As they say in the photography game, we'll see what develops.
Yeah. Well, hopefully nothing will develop as far as it goes with me anymore, because I have had it with the vehicle situation right now. So I'm basically just going to probably end up buying a horse.
Well, I've said before, William, when you don't have the means of transport, you feel like your legs have been cut off. I mean, you just, you're stuck out there at the whims of whoever you can get or catch a ride with and all that. And I don't like that. I think that's why the Lyft comes in handy if you can afford it. Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to tell you guys.
This morning we've got some technical issues too going on still from Friday night.
Yeah. I saw Sound of Freedom last night, and you guys got to see it. Believe me, it is really, really enlightening. I'll put it that way. And I'm going to tell you why. It's a hard thing to realize that this kind of evil is walking this world with us. It's really, really bad. And really, everybody needs to see this movie. If they, of course, we pretty well know what's going on. There's a lot of people out there that don't even give it a thought. And I hope this movie is going to open some eyes. But the powers that be are proactively already fighting against it. Definitely.
Yeah, I wanted to watch it, but my day was spent, let's say, not doing my favorite activity. uh,
Yeah, it's always
I
something.
think I'm losing you guys. Hey guys, I'm gonna have to turn my camera off for a minute. I'm gonna let you guys take it, and I'm gonna see what I can do with this computer. It's starting to act
All
up
right.
again. All right.
Go ahead. I'm going too, but I'm still here. I'm just playing with the buttons. I'm getting the hang of it, girl. Okay.
Yep. I spent all day yesterday moving to my new area.
Oh yeah, I like that. Yeah, that's nice. That's your got your lights back there.
Yeah.
Got your whole fireplace.
Yep.
All right. All right. Well, when I drop by, we're gonna have somewhere to hang out then. Okay.
Yeah, I took over Chiro's music studio, at least a corner of it.
Uh oh.
Yeah,
Mama might not like that. Mama might have something to say about that, girl.
Well, she's on the stream with me, so she can't really say too awful much. She might take over this spot, and I'll have to find a different one.
There you go. Have to keep moving. Keep moving. A moving target's harder to hit, right? Definitely. Yeah, I like that picture you got over the fireplace there. That's neat.
Yeah, it's like a velvet painting.
Yeah. That's nice. I like that fireplace. I always have to think about fireplaces. I always like them. That's a good gathering point. I would love to, if I had eternal time to hear every story ever told by the fireplace. Wouldn't that be interesting?
Yeah.
That used to be a hangout for the whole family. At night they'd gather around the fireplace, talk, and tell the stories, pass down, things that happen generation to generation. A lot of families don't do that anymore, unfortunately.
Yeah, as a kid at mom and dad's, we had a fireplace there, and we'd always light it up during the fall, and like Thanksgiving and Christmas and New Year's, we always had a fire going, and the whole family would be over and around.
Yeah, good gathering place. A lot of memories associated with it. Yeah. Hey, Aussie Susan, laid up in bed. She says it's midnight there. Okay, my goodness, it's getting kind of late. Getting kind of late in Aussie land.
The midnight hour.
Yeah, the midnight hour. Watch out, Aussie Susan. The midnight hour. Always reminds me of that song. What was the name of it? Midnight Wind. Do you remember that one? Oh, who did that? I can't think who did it. And that Stevie Nicks was in it too. I think Stevie Nicks had part of it. But anyway, that's a great. I had to look that song up. I'm going down memory lane today.
So would that be Fleetwood Mac then?
Yeah, that might have been it. Let your hair down, and the midnight wind. Well, that's a pretty song. Yeah. Miranda. Actually, that name Miranda, a lot of people don't know this, was actually made up by William Shakespeare.
Oh.
Until he did it, there was no such name as Miranda. But it always reminds me of the word veranda. See Miranda on the veranda. Okay. Okay. But anyway, I've always, as a writer, I love words. Of course, that's my thing, you know. And words are fascinating, and their origins and the things that they mean. You know, Shakespeare made up a lot of words, by the way. Yeah.
Yep, there's a lot of paranormal in Shakespeare's stuff.
Oh yeah. Absolutely. I'll tell you one thing about William Shakespeare. He definitely believed in the paranormal. He was real big on that, especially folklore and the Fae and stuff like that, you know. The Fae are a very interesting subject. And it's a very wide ranging array of things. You've got goblins, you've got fairies, you've got trolls, you got elves, you got a bunch of different leprechauns, trolls, mountain trolls. You got a bunch of stuff connected with the Fae. The banshee and the. You ever heard of the Calchi? You know what the Calchi is?
No, where is that?
The Calchi is an Irish version of witch cats. They were cats that supposedly were connected. They were fairy cats. They actually could take on different forms. They were shapeshifters too, by the way. And they could take on different forms. They were called the Calchi. That's the way it's pronounced. Sort of like the banshee. But anyway, she, by the way, is Celtic for fae, or fairies, or magical beings. But these fairy cats are supposed to be different than your regular house cat. They could do different things, you know. And they're also associated with familiar of witches familiars. You know, that was the number one familiar of a witch. But if you go back and look through folklore, here's the crazy thing, girl. The number one familiar of witches was not a cat. Guess what it was?
What?
It was a pig, a hog. Well, I don't know. Maybe they like bacon too. But anyway, that was very interesting. That struck me as kind of strange. But that was a very common item, household thing, you know, to have hogs and cows. So I could see why that would work in on that, you know. But the cat was pretty well up there on the list, you know. And you know, that was an interesting thing. I also think about that. It happened to me when I was a kid. One of the very first, I guess you would say, sort of paranormal things that happened to me. I was probably around. I remember well. I was probably about 6 or 7 years old when my grandmother died. She back in those days, people brought you home. You didn't go to the funeral home. You laid a corpse at home. They don't do that anymore, thank goodness. But anyway, my grandmother was at I think it was my aunt's house where this took place at. I could go to the house is still there. Right. Anyway, it was in a little neighborhood. It wasn't a big, you know, suburb. It was just a little neighborhood. But it was, you know, it was sort of off of the lot we used to call the mill hill kind of a thing. You know, where the big cotton mills, they had a community around. You know, that's called the mill hill. It was usually sometimes it wasn't on a hill, but anyway, that's what it was called. It was a kind of community. And this took place on the outskirts of the mill hill, you might say. But anyway, she was laying a corpse in this house, as they say, and somebody had to stay up all night with the body, you know, and that was, of course, my father's mother. So he just was going to stay up, and my mother was going to sit with him, and I was with them. And actually, the weirdest thing happened, Gerald, William, along about midnight. It seemed like every cat in the world showed up at that house. I mean, there was at least over 100 cats out there outside that house. And they were crawling up the walls. This was summertime, like, you know, or I think it was fall. But we had a screen door was open, you know. The door, I mean, you know, had a screen door. And the cats were clawing up the screen door and making the weirdest noises. I remember this well. It woke me up. I was asleep when it happened. It started happening. And it woke me up. And my mother said, I remember my mother said, she said, you know, saying that's the weirdest thing she ever seen, too. And my father would go outside. My father did not like cats, by the way, because an episode that happened with my older brother, a cat got on him and was supposedly sucking his breath. But that's an old wives' tale. We'll talk about that some other time. That doesn't really go that way. But anyway, my father had a thing about cats. He hated cats. And he would go outside and run these cats off. He'd run them all, kick them off the floor, get them out of there. And he couldn't hardly get back inside and sit back down. These cats would come back all night long. They did this to this house. They laid siege to this house. They would climb up the windows. You could hear them outside clawing up the walls and everything. Finally, just about daybreak, and I remember we sat up all night listening to these cats. I mean, they were caterwauling outside. You know how cats do when they're like in the mating thing, you know? You hear them making a lot of noise. That's what this was kind of very much like. And just about sunrise, one by one, they just slowly walked, you know, they left. That's the weirdest thing. But I found out later, years and years of research later, that this used to be kind of a common thing when corpses were brought to houses. And there's an old superstition that says that when you die, you're supposed to go to, or when somebody dies in your family, you're supposed to go tell the cats in the neighborhood about it. You're supposed to go say, hey, talk to the cat. Because if you don't, they'll all come visiting.
Oh, I never heard that.
That's an old folklore superstition. And another thing is they say that also that when somebody dies in the neighborhood, all the cats find out about it. They know about it. And that's when they're supposed to come visiting too. So there's some really weird, freaky folklore associated with cats. But I saw some of it, and that was real. You know?
Wow. You back with us, William?
You making any progress, William?
I don't know, guys. This is just getting ridiculous. I'm trying to figure out how somebody else can control the mouse cursor.
Well, I thought you were locked up, so I clicked on some stuff. It still works on my end. So I've been clicking on them every once in a while, so that's probably what you're seeing. So I just brought up Tracy's.
All right.
I thought you were locked up, so I was bringing up comments because I didn't know if you were able to.
All right. And that's fine. You go ahead and bring up the comments, and I'm just going to let this computer ride. Before we logged on today, I heard a snap, crackle, pop. and it wasn't coming from me.
It wasn't
it was
me.
coming from the computer. So I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
Anyways, the whole thing you guys talked about yesterday was pretty interesting. With the shadow people and the portals and all that, and wasn't your broken finger? Is that your flushing finger or your picking finger?
Actually, you see how crooked it is. This thing is bent. Actually, luckily it's my left hand. I'm right-handed, so I'm okay. But I've been trying to immobilize it a little bit, keep it straight to see if it would heal up better or something. I don't know. I might have to go have something seen about it to get it X-rays. I don't know what the heck happened, but all I was doing was pushing some packing paper down in a box, and it was I was not pushing it. I heard it go snap. You talking about snap, crackle, pop? It went snap very loudly. And it hurts for a little bit. It doesn't hurt that bad. It's just real stiff. Like, I don't know. It might not actually be broken bone. It may be a broken tendon or something. Yeah. I don't know. Something weird all the time.
Might be Probably popped out a joint.
Yeah, it might be. I don't know. It don't feel like it's out of joint, but it might possibly. May have to go see what's going on with it.
Just give it a big old yank and see what it does.
I tried that, but it didn't work. I need somebody else to yank it for me. But you know what? Look here. Look at here. I can grip. I can still grip hard with it here.
No.
I can still, so I don't think it's broken, actually. I don't. Oh. I need a Superman with X-ray vision.
I would have thought you'd ask for Supergirl.
I've been. That's what I said. Somebody said you need to get that X-ray. I said I've been X-rayed so many times. I probably glow in the dark at night. You know. But when I worked at the hospital, we had to have a physical every year. You know, and every year they would give us a chest X-ray. You know. And one day I said, all these chest X-rays we have to say can be good for you, you know. And the X-ray technician said, you're probably right. You know, one of the number one causes of lung cancer is chest X-rays or something like that. I said, oh God, don't tell me that. And you know what? Eventually they quit doing that stuff. I believe it was really detrimental to your health. They said because that much radiation when you didn't need it was not a good thing, you know. It wasn't like, cancer radiation treatments, which are a different thing. But that was exposing. Here's what made me, that bothered me about that. They would go take the X-ray of me, but yet they put a lead vest on to do it. You know, I'm going, hey, why am I getting the end of this? I don't get a vest, okay? I don't get the lead protection. That's not good.
Yeah.
Ain't that they got their stickers now?
Now, let me ask you guys: has anybody chat? Yep. Good. Good. Let me ask you guys something. And people in the chat too. I'm going to be doing the news, paranormal news podcast tomorrow night at 11 o'clock. And there's a couple stories that I'm actually working on. One of a cryptid creature on 4 legs that stood over 8 feet tall. And it was seen in Maryland and Pennsylvania. And I was wondering if anybody's ever had reports of something like that.
I'm not familiar with that, I don't think. I'd have to check it out. Now, I sent you a reel the other day, William. I don't know if you saw it. It looks rather authentic. And it looks like it may be in South America or Mexico or somewhere. Well, these guys are out at a goat pen. There's several goats there, and there's something black on the bottom of this goat, and it's hung on the bottom of this goat, and it looks all the world like a big giant black lizard of some sort or something. I don't know, and it's black, slicky looking though. It doesn't have scales like a lizard. And they're beating this thing off with a stick, getting it off a goat. And you finally, at the end of the thing, you see it crawl away. I just wonder if that could have actually been some kind of weird chupacabra of some sort. But it was attached to the bottom of this goat as if it was like, a parasite type thing, And this thing was huge. It had to be everywhere between 3
Yeah, I've seen that.
4 foot long. Yeah, did you see that?
Yeah. That's not the first time I saw that either. That's like the second or third time I've seen that video of the black, almost like almost like a shadow being or entity.
Yeah.
Now I do know from my ability to see things. There are in the shadow world, there are entities that look like I can describe them. And they're actually darker than the darkness around them too. And they are the type of things that will attach themselves to a living creature, whether it's a human or an animal, and they will suck the life force out of that individual that they're attached to. So that I do know they do exist in the shadow realm. You know, so
I guess we would.
That's what I think that was.
We would tag them as sort of shadow parasites. You know, that would be what you would really tag them as. I've heard of stories similar to that. There was one where
Pretty
this
much,
guy,
yeah.
this man supposedly, and you know, we were talking about mirrors a little bit yesterday, kind of the weird things that mirrors do. And this guy supposedly saw something on his back in the mirror. I mean, he was looking at the mirror and he could see something, but you know how it is, you can't look at your own back in a mirror, but unless you got a mirror behind you, of course. You know, like the old department store mirrors used to be. But he could see this thing. It was like attached to his back, and he had gotten very sick recently. And to make a long story short, this was, I think, happened in South America, somewhere like that. Make a long story short, he went to a witch doctor or a shaman or whatever name you want to give it, and told him that he had seen something. And he said, "Yeah, there's something attached to you, a spirit, you know, attached to you, and it's sucking your life out. That's why you're sick. You know, it's taking the life essence out of you." And the shaman did some stuff that made it, that ran the thing off, got rid of it, but it was sort of a spiritual attachment of a shadow, like, you know. And that's that reminded me of what you're talking about there. That sounds a lot similar to it, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I just, you know, that's what I think it was. And I've dealt with those things before. I did a cleansing of a couple properties a while back before I got sick, where they were those entities that were around, and they were literally just picking and choosing on each family member what to nourish themselves off of each individual part of the day. So, you know, one family member would feel tired and lethargic, and another one would feel perfectly fine, and then vice versa would happen. So, you know,
Well, I'll tell you
that's just
another
what they
freaky.
do, and I don't know what to call them except that they're I call them shadow, basically.
Shadow parasites, that'd be what I would tag them. But here's another thing, another
Yeah,
interesting
right.
story. And I saw something once kind of similar to this. Well, this guy said there was a thing that was attached to his outside of his house, and it looked like a black square. He said it looked every bit like a black piece of paper, but it was not glossy or anything. It was just a black. It was so, when you see this unnatural blackness that you and I are talking about here, when you see this, you realize it's not normal looking thing here, you know. But he said this thing was like a square, and it was probably like a piece of a notebook paper like size. And said it was attached to the side of his house. I saw something like that one time, similar, going around the side of a house. And this thing, when it fell to the ground, and I'm not going to say it blew away because there wasn't a wind that night, but it was just like when he went to the ground, it was just gone, like smoke, you know, in that way. And I saw that just very quickly, and it's the thing you see, and you say,
Yeah,
well, did I see that?
I almost,
you know?
yeah, I almost think that those types of happenings are more of the shadow realm is real. It's kind of like a negative of a photograph. they say that the doppelgangers are twins and stuff that are here to take us, and because we're gonna our body currently in is gonna have a tragedy happen to it, and that doppelgangers are here to take it over. You know what I mean, or assume our identity, or steal our identity.
Mirror images.
But the shadow realm is the shadow realm is the shadow realm is just exactly like that. It's a kind of like a positive and a negative.
I think it's interdimensional too. I think it's got an interdimensional capacity to it, William. I think these things are either traveling interdimensionally or coming from another dimension. Possibility.
Yeah, the amount of interdimensional world. Yeah, the amount of interdimensional worlds out there are you can't fathom them. There's no distinct number to correlate to the amount of interdimensional worlds out there. Picture it kind of like that scene in Men in Black, the original movie Men in Black, where they open up the locker and then they open up the back part of the locker and it shows all these locker doors that are millions and billions of them. That's kind of like our interdimensional worlds. So that's probably the best way to describe it. There's no limit to them. In fact, they're growing as we speak. Our interdimensional worlds are growing because our voice gives them power. As our voice and our words give everything power.
Our thoughts probably too, yeah. Give them an expansion. They expand off of that. And here's another interesting thing about the interdimensional thing, William, too, is that the timelines that correspond with each other and go through the string theory, as we call it. If they should cross, like we've talked about before, you could possibly have that interdimensional transference then. And that's why I call some of these things like walk-ins. They just like walking through and, they're minding their own business, but you just happen to catch a glimpse of them. That could be a lot of what's going on with that too. A lot with just the time shift.
Well, when you start, yeah, when you start talking quantum entanglements and stuff, you start getting into an area where you're not only going from interdimensional space and time, the elements outside of time and space itself. In other words, there's no time limits. It all converges at one apex and goes from there.
I'll tell you something, William, that concerns me a lot is the many reports it seems like are becoming more and more as time goes on of these reality shifts. I was talking about Graham Phillips. I was talking about the author Graham Phillips, who wrote a book recently about a case that he had. Very strange. I wish you would read it. It's very interesting. And he had a lot. There was one instance, and I'll just make this an example. This is just an example. Him and another lady were doing research on this place, and there was a fire there. And the fire supposedly took place in 1897. And they found this on the internet. They were looking at all this. Later on, during the investigation, the date changed. It was 1896. And everybody else is saying 1896. And they said, I know we saw this as 1897. Okay? And they said they even had a lady that collaborated with them on this. That said, yes, it was 1897, but now it's 1896. What's going on with that? You've got reality shifts going along with that, with this weird quantum entanglement stuff too, And I think a lot of this has started happening. Don't you, Geryl, with CERN and all this junk going on? I think some of this stuff may be with that.
Yeah, they seem to tie a lot of the dimensional and portal stuff and timeline mix-ups with CERN. Every time they do an experiment or start it up or stop it, something weird happens with the timeline, they always say.
Yeah. Now that's like what happened to me, that McDonald's incident, episode I told you about. And that little small power station there. I went by there the other day. I was looking, it's still there, okay? I check it every now and then. But that thing was not there. It was not. I was square on a stack of Bibles that it was not there. And whether it's my mind playing tricks on me or whether there's some kind of weird reality shift, to have those little small powers, it's one of those little standalone cabinet power stations,
Right.
And it's right in front of the back door. And I used to see the door.
Huh,
and it's been there, and you can look at this thing. It's been there ever since the place was built because it's old looking. It doesn't look new. It was not new. And I even asked the manager the other day. Of course, they never know anything. I don't know. But I said, how long's that power station been back there? That cabinet? So it's always been there, I reckon. Okay, I said okay. But I don't know. There's some weird stuff going on. That's why we were talking about yesterday. People need to keep your eyes open, folks. There's some screwy stuff going on here, and you need to watch. Be aware.
You can't trust McDonald's, so you don't. That's like its own little world.
Yeah, I got their cup right here. Okay, but anyway, but that freaked me out. What else is going on like that we're not catching? That's like William told about some kind of an institution near where he lives, and he went by, and the whole name had been changed on the thing. From what he was. You remember that, William? I don't know if you heard me. Can you hear me there, William?
Only getting bits and pieces of what you're saying.
Oh, yeah. It's cool. Yeah. I believe you might have something interfering with your feed there, William. Check and make sure you got your Bluetooth off on your phone. That screwed me up one time. You gotta watch that.
I think I got mine all straightened out now, so I can hear you and see you just fine.
Mm-hmm.
William keeps going in and out.
Yeah, I think he's got some kind. It looks like it's some kind of interference of some sort. I don't know. I'm not an expert. I don't know. I just play with them. I don't fix them.
So yeah, there's all kinds of stuff going on out there. I mean, me and Jane have noticed stuff. Like, well, how long has that been there? I've lived in the same town my whole life, and it's like there's no way some of this stuff has been there. I would have remembered it as a kid or growing up being built or moved. And
here's another example of that book I was telling you about, the author. And I'd like to get him when I get my show going. I want to get him as a guest. Because this guy, he's sort of a modern day Indiana Jones. He's done all kinds of stuff. But anyway, they were researching in this church, an old church over in England, and they were looking for this woman's grave in there. And they were like several visits to this church, and they could not find a plaque or anything for this woman. On the last visit, there's this big plaque in there. And they said, there's no way we missed this thing. This big plaque to this woman. And they went and asked the curator of the church, did y'all just install, did you recently put this plaque? And he said, oh, no, it's always been there, since the woman died or something like in 1800s. And they said, how could we have missed that? There's no way possible. They could have been. And he said, other researchers couldn't find it either. And now it's there.
Yeah.
Freaky stuff, man.
I know there's
the name of the book is Strange Fate. And through this whole weird paranormal case, it was this: the hand of fate was moving them like pieces on a chessboard, pushing them this way and that. It's a weird, freaky. You need to read it, folks. Very interesting book, Strange Fate. It's by Graham Phillips. But that guy, he's been on the search for Moses' staff, Moses' grave, the Ark of the Covenant, the Holy Grail. He's sort of like a modern day Indiana Jones.
Yeah, well, we watch stuff like that on YouTube all the time, and one of our favorites is Glitch in the Matrix.
Oh,
and
yeah.
all these people send in their experiences, and the guy reads them on air.
The glitches.
Oh
Yeah.
man, there's some crazy stuff out there.
Well, now Graham Phillips is on YouTube as well. You might want to check him out one day. He's got a lot of YouTube videos on there about, and he talks about this case that I'm talking about on there. Very interesting stuff. There's some. Here's what makes it interesting to me. Other researchers are experiencing this. Okay, and that's what to me makes me really pay attention. You know, if it's happening to other people, not just to a certain group, but it's happening to everybody. What's going on with that? You know. Hey, there's the red rabbit. He's back. I call him a red
Can
rabbit.
anybody
He's got a
hear
red
me?
shirt on today. Yep, hear you fine.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Good.
You got a little bit of a delay, but we hear you fine.
I don't know what's going on. Something is definitely messing with the internet today for me. I've gone into.
Well, we're still having problems with the sun flares.
That's a possibility, yeah. Like they've got a big case of the northern lights going on for the north of the country on account of the solar flares and all that. But I don't know. But anyway, that's very freaky, the stuff with the time and reality shifts and the shadow beings. I think there's a distinct connection between a lot of this stuff. These non-human entities, the shadow beings or shadow parasites, and I've had many cases of people hearing things on their roof, and they would go out and see shadows on their roof. So it doesn't just happen in the house. It happens out in the woods, shadows behind trees looking out at them. That's another reason why I call those things that fly at night the night flyers. They're sort of like flying shadow beings to a certain extent. That's some weird, freaky stuff people are reporting when it comes to shadow beings. It's not just they're in the bedroom at night or up against the wall or something. They're popping up in all kinds of locations. I was on a case one time. I didn't see it, but I was talking to like one of the team members there, and she got to looking behind me and said, and I said, "What's going on?" She said, "The shadow just walked behind you, going somewhere." And that place had a lot of activity going on, and so you never know where they're gonna pop up at. That one was coming up my back, and I didn't know it. But you never know where you're gonna run into these things at. This was, by the way, a modern day apartment complex, but it was where it was built that told the story. It was right next to an old cemetery, and I found evidence in that cemetery that some ritualistic stuff had been going on. So somebody opened, I think, a doorway, and that's where a lot of these shadow beings and demons and all this other stuff started happening. Very much like what supposedly goes on in Skinwalker Ranch. There are certain areas where this happens more often than in other areas, like the old crossroads or bridge or mountaintops or mountain passes sometimes. Some areas seem to be more prevalent to shadow being activity than others. And I think that may have that portal, connection going on too.
Yeah, who knows? I mean, you got CERN going on, you got the earth changing, you got all kinds of stuff, let alone people experimenting, trying to open up portals or trying to talk to the spirit realm. And I mean, you just have all this stuff going on. So who knows what's really causing everything? Maybe it's a little bit of everything
Yeah.
that's opening up these portals or dimensions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that could be. I think, like I talked about yesterday with my experience. I think they're naturally occurring areas of portal activity. But then I think CERN may have been a big cause for a lot of this going on. Some of it, more recent in times. But we know that's been a focus of on as dark witchcraft to open these spiritual doorways. And dark science is dabbling around with this stuff. And by the way, folks, dark science is not CERN. CERN is kind of straight up. Dark science is probably what they don't want you to know about. Okay, that's what they're doing in the background. They keep real quiet about it. But and now a lot of dark science, by the way, is done by what we call rogue scientists. In other words, they're not connected to things. They're just doing a bunch of weird junk on their own, like a Dr. Frankenstein kind of thing. They're just doing this stuff on their own. You don't know what they're up to either. So you got a lot of factors. You're very right, Geryl. There's not just one answer to this. There are several answers, definitely.
Yeah, it makes it tough to sort it out, to figure out, what's going on. I mean, you got to be really on top of your game when you're investigating this stuff to try to figure out what the common cause is.
Oh, yeah. But here's one thing I will say about shadow beings. Be careful when you deal with them, because many of them are malevolent, whether they're demonic or whatever they are. They are not good actors. They're very malevolent and maybe very dangerous. So be very careful when you encounter these things, because you never know what type you're dealing with, until it's too late, of course. The ones I don't really like are the ones that have physically attacked people. Like I was talking about, the cat sucking the baby's breath, which, by the way, it's not true, of course. They smell milk on a baby or milk formula. They'll get on the chest, and of course that makes it hard for the baby to breathe, and that's not good,
Right.
Definitely not. That's what's going on. They're not really sucking the breath. But these shadow beings attack people in a very similar way to that. They get on there and I've heard it so many times. I wish I had $1 every time I heard it. I'd be a rich man. This pressure begins on them. It's like something just sitting on you, pushing you down, down, down. And so I finally can't move. I get where I can't breathe good anymore. So that's not a good place to be in, folks. Okay, that's not a good thing doing that to you. Definitely. So when you run into something like that, I consider that dangerous, wouldn't you, Joe?
Oh yeah. I mean, you hear people talk about night paralysis. Like there's something holding them down and they can't move, and they feel the pressure on their chest and their whole body, and they can't. Sometimes it's even they can't even scream or say help or anything.
Right. But here's another interesting aspect. 9 times out of 10, people can cut this off, break this hold with a simple thing by saying a prayer. So that gives you an indicator right there that this is a spiritual thing going on. This is a spiritual attack of some sort. And I've said this before many times. Freaky things happen when you're in sleep. Okay, I mean you're no closer to death than when you're in the deep stages of sleep. You're very close to it, that borderland of life and death. Some freaky, weird stuff goes on, and you're very susceptible to spiritual attack at that point. So it's very careful. Many people have been attacked in their dreams, in their dream state, or in their sleep state. So you're very vulnerable in that respect, you know, definitely. And I've had a lot of people say, how do I, a lot of people have asked me, say, well, how do I, keep that from happening, Well, the one way that really precipitates this stuff from taking a hold in your dream or sleep state is that perhaps a prayer before sleep, pray as you go to sleep, or at least think good thoughts, go to a good place in your mind, kind of thing, folks. Like there's one like a garden you would want to be sitting in, or you want to be by the seashore, or whatever your good place is. You envision that and you think about it as you drift off to sleep. That sort of creates a spiritual barrier around you. That light, that it kind of keeps these negative influences away from you while you're asleep. That's one major weapon against this kind of a thing that you can do. And I've had a lot of cases, unfortunately, where children are attacked in this way with horrible dreams and nightmares. And I've always told them to cast salt around the bed as well. That seems to be a purifying thing, and it's hard for you to get children to understand what I just told you about. Adults can understand that more than children, but you can tell children to, think happy thoughts, pray for everybody while you're going to sleep. Think happy thoughts, keep positive. That's the main thing, because it does help against this stuff, and children can grasp that thought, unless they're very, very young children, they can grasp that,
Right.
and go with it. So that's the one good thing, is to create that barrier around us, because that is one of our most vulnerable states of being, is when we're asleep.
Yeah, I mean, there's all kinds of videos, you see out there of baby cams, of strange stuff happening while kids are sleeping in their cribs or their beds, shadow people, you have stuff moving in their room. It looks like the kids are talking or looking at something that's not there in the room. So they're really.
I had an interesting case very much like that, Geryl. One time I had a fire chief. He called me, and he said that they had picked up a sound. Their baby had been having restless nights. Baby was might have been about like 14 months old or something like that. And the baby had been having restless nights, and it slept in another room in a bed, baby bed. And they picked up something on the nanny cam. They didn't actually have a camera. It was a sound, sound thing. And so they picked up the sound, and it was a voice. And there was nobody but the fire chief and his wife and the baby in his house. Okay, they didn't even have a dog. And so they picked up this voice, and it said, and you could hear it. I heard it. He played it back for me. It said, "Pretty hair," like that. And I mean, it sounded demonic. It really did. It sounded bad. So I told him immediately, I said, tonight, do not let that baby sleep alone in that room. Bring it in there in the bedroom with you guys, okay? If you have to take the bed down and bring it in there, don't leave that baby alone anymore until you get that house cleansed and get this thing out of there, because I don't like to see it messing around with children, And so he called me back about a week later, said everything's good, the baby's sleeping good. He said my father-in-law happens to be a minister, so he came in and blessed the house. Oh, good, that's great. And they had no more problem. But that was a downright evil-sounding voice. And I could imagine something stroking the hair on that baby, saying pretty hair like that. I mean, that's freaky. I didn't like the sound of that, definitely.
Right. Yeah, there's all kinds of stuff happening at night. You just never know. I mean, they always say, like the 3 a.m. hour.
Oh, yeah. Well, I have noticed that many times, Geryl, during investigations. You can almost see the demonic reaches its height of power at 3 o'clock a.m. After that, its power seems to beginning to diminish. And I figured out that's when the world actually begins turning toward the sun, the light of the sun. I think that's what's going on with that. That's a spiritual thing. And I've seen it happen many times. I mean, I could put even money on it as bed, okay? That does happen. So yeah, the height of the darkness of the world is 3 a.m. or whatever standard time, at 3 a.m. is when it seems to be the night is at its darkest, and that's when the powers of evil are at their height. Definitely, I know that sounds, you know, kind of freaky, but that's true. I mean, it sounds kind of like something out of a comic book, but it really is true. And
now, Melissa has a question.
Oh yeah,
if you read that.
What does it mean when you see dark figures going by you in your peripheral vision? I don't feel good about it. I do seem like that's another thing. I'm glad you brought that up. I was going to mention that too. Sometimes you catch a glimpse, just out of the corner of the eye of something. That's okay. Don't worry too much about that. That just may be what we call random spirits, another passing through, kind of, or you just may be catching something. Some spiritual energy that's there. I wouldn't worry too much about it. It's when these things start coming up your back or they get in your face big time, that's when you got to worry because they've singled you out. If you're just seeing something out of your peripheral and it's moving and going away, it's not fooling or freaking around with you, don't worry about it too much because usually it might just be something passing through. The witching hour, yeah. Well, now the real witching hour is 3 a.m. and not midnight, folks, by the way. That's what Shakespeare talked about. Tis now the witching time of night when graveyards yawn and hell itself spews out contagion to this world. That's the worst time of all, the witching hour.
Yeah, we're gonna do a show where you just sit here and read Shakespeare to us.
I love Shakespeare. He was really good. Like I said, he was one supernatural guy. I mean, look at Hamlet. It starts with a ghost walking down through the. But anyway, I won't get into that. My favorite is Macbeth, by the way, folks. Okay, something wicked this week, huh? And a lot of people think Macbeth was the one saying that about the witches, but it was actually the witches saying that about Macbeth. But we'll get into that some other time.
Yeah, and Yolanda here is talking about her Google Nest would talk to her in the middle of the night and she would answer it or whatever, and it
or what's the name, Alexis or something? She wakes up
Alexis,
at night.
Alexa, there's all kinds of them.
Yeah, you got a lot of things listening to you sometimes. Here's the thing about it, though. Here's a freaky thing to think about, girl. I've seen hard evidence that spirits can infest and infect technology big time. Okay, so watch out. Better keep an eye on your toaster, folks, just in case.
There's all kinds of there's paranormal experiments, where people do the spirit boxes and the EMF meters and all that, where they get them to to interact with electronic devices. So I mean, how many homes have that kind of stuff in their house now?
I had a spirit box cuss me out one night, actually.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, it got very nasty. Oh, yeah. It was the spirit talking to it, of course, but it was a bad spirit, evil spirit, and it was evil language, by the way, too. It embarrassed some of the members over there to hear this thing. It was bad, but it could do some freaky stuff. And like I say, electronics are open. Now, I'm not going to say to possession, but influence, definitely.
Well, I mean, they interact in this physical world. I mean, you always see, light switches, lights go on and off and doors open and close. And
one of their favorite things, girl, is water fountain spigots, Yeah, they turn them on a lot. Play around with the water faucets.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, to me, they were considered poltergeist, you know, because it can have a physical in this world. And
Here's the thing about poltergeist, true poltergeist, and I think there's several different types of poltergeist, which the word means noisy ghost. But the thing about it, some of them can be very malevolent. It can turn out that they get violent. They start attacking you. You start hearing the voices of these things. I think that's very demonic. So I think there may be different types of poltergeist. Some may be participated by the puberty type stage in young people, especially women, young girls. That brings about this sort of kinetic power. I mean, that's one type of a poltergeist. But I think there is another type that's demonic, and there may be a third type, which is sort of an ambivalent type thing. It's just a trickster thing. It wants to play with you, thing, and hide your keys or whatever. That could be one of the most mischievous, can be one of the most evil ones of all. The way they do to you, the things they do to you. But so you got different types of those, you know. So you never know. That's why the investigation, Gerald, and I've said this for so many years. Investigation and research. They are married. They were born to be together. They're really twins. You can't have one without the other, but they're very important to what you're doing. You got to invest. You know, a lot of people want to skip the investigation part and go straight to the talking to the ghost and doing all the other things. Don't do that, folks. Investigation is all important. That's what you're really there for. You got to have that investigation and research to figure out exactly what the heck it is you're facing. And that could be very dangerous if you don't do that. Okay? You're opening yourself up to some bad trouble. So be very, very careful what you are doing and what you are facing and how you face it. Because you don't know.
You need to investigate the site first before you even get there. Find out what was going on in history before you even go to the site to investigate anything.
Exactly. You know, if I were going to have a dream team of investigators, one of them would have the specific job of researching the history of that place. That would be their go in and research every bit of the deeds, the titles, everything you could possibly find out that ever happened in that location. That would give you the keys of knowledge to what you really need to do there. You know, that's one very all important thing. And the other is that another team member would be the perfect one that interviews the people. You know, and you would not believe this many times, Cheryl, how many people have lied to me or held back information that was important for me to know. You know, and I can understand they might have been embarrassed. I can understand that's okay. But you can't tell me nothing I haven't heard before, okay?
Right.
So don't worry about embarrassing me. You know, that's what I tell them. You know, if it's a sexual thing or whatever it is, don't be embarrassed. I got to know. I got to know as an investigator what's going on. I got to have the full picture, and that goes with everything in the paranormal and supernatural research. You got to have the full picture, folks. You can't just have one little pieces. You're going to spend all your time putting a piece of the puzzle together. I like the puzzle when it's finished. You see the whole picture. You know, that's what your aim is. That's your goal. Don't come to me with this little clue, this little clue. Let's put them all together and get the big picture. That's where the evidence comes in. You know, the proof.
Right.
But people skip that step many times. They don't even consider it important, but it's stupid, but that's the way they do. Don't surprise me.
Okay, can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, I hear you.
Yes, sir.
Damn it, I can't hear you guys.
You still got a delay going on there? I prayed before bed, but I was attacked bedtime and during sleep by negative energy for years. Prayer stopped the worst potential, but not until I screamed out, rebuke and energy. Oh, that's very true, Raven. You got to get rough with them. You got to get tough with them sometimes. And the only way to do that is to bring that main power in. The blood of Jesus. That's what you got to go with. Not only just the name of Jesus, but the blood of Jesus as well. These are very important factors in rebuking something. And you remember, you got to stand on the promise of God. If you rebuke the devil, he will flee from you. That's a very true promise. But it's just you got to have faith, of course. Faith is the catechism of it all. It's the trigger for it. Faith is what backs stuff up. I've seen people that will go in and try to use the name of Jesus without faith. It still don't work for them. You know what I'm saying? It's just words. It's empty words to them. You got to have faith to back it up. That's the main thing. That's what gets things done.
Yep. You truly have to have that in your heart and in your mind and soul. You have to be 100%. You can't be wishy-washy and think that it's going to work for you.
That's what I've often accused people, Gerald, of coming to me and saying, "Oh, can't you rub a little God on this for me? I know God ain't an ornament bottle there, you know." You don't do that. That's not the way that works, folks. And I've had a lot of people come up to me at the end of location blessings and stuff. They say, "Thank you, thank you." Don't thank me. I didn't do anything. Okay, that's not me. I didn't do it. Thank God. Don't thank me. I didn't do it. That's his prerogative, not mine. Who am I to tell God what to do? I mean, I'm not gonna do that. But you can ask for that help. You can rebuke these things in His name. But like Gerald says, just in your heart's got to be connected to it. Your brain, your mind, the whole spiritual balance is going on. I talk about that spiritual balance a lot with people. You got to have all those factors on board, or the train don't go roll. You know, that's just the way it goes.
Yeah, a lot of people, just grasp one aspect of it, but I mean, it says in the Bible, you got to protect your mind, soul, and your body. I mean, so you got the physical aspect, the mental aspect, and then you got your soul that you have to worry about to protect. I mean, it's like a three front phase that you have to go through.
That's that armor of God, Gerald. That's what the Bible talks about, that armor of God. Like I said yesterday, if you and I were knights fighting each other with armor on, I'd look for the chink in your armor, for the weak spot, and your enemy's looking for that too, spiritually. Your spiritual enemy's looking for that weak spot. Don't give it to him. It's one thing for somebody, we used to say this as cops. It's one thing for somebody to shoot at you. It's another thing if you gave him the bullets. So you don't want to give your enemy any ammunition. Don't give your enemy any ammunition to do that. Okay.
Yeah, it's hard enough without giving them all the tools and helping them themselves.
Right. Don't do that. That's a foolish thing to do. I think Cervantes said that much better than I can. He said, "It's a foolish thing while living in a house of glass to stone thy neighbors as they pass." Think about that a minute. That's an interesting line. Don't do that. But no, that's right. I'm also making things hard on the enemy. That's why I try to get across the churches about this stuff. Let me come and talk to your congregation about this. They need to know what's really going on. Oh no, we don't want to deal with that stuff. We don't want to. But I said that don't. You're giving them the edge. Don't do that. You're giving the enemy the edge. You can't do that. Thank you, Dennis. Now you must also use the intent of the blood. Okay, amen. That's amen. Yes, ma'am. Here's an interesting thing, and I've had to do this before to get demons off. I say, I now ask you, Lord, to cover me in the blood of Jesus. Cover me with the blood of Jesus, and in His name, I rebuke this darkness. And boy, that really works. I mean, that really does the job. because you're asking God to put that power on you, and Jesus gave us that commission. You will cast out devils in my name. We have that power. We have that commission. If we'll only use it, believe and use it, we have that power, and that would make life a whole lot better when you can get these devils off your back. Okay.
Yep. Now, Scott has a question.
I know a pastor friend who had a man approach him for deliverance. This man had casual sex with a witch, and shortly after, had all sorts of demonic garbage happening. She probably put a curse on him, probably. Dark witches are very good at revenge sometimes, and that sounds like that might have been sort of a revenge curse type thing. Gotta watch out who you associate with, folks. Some people will curse you just for fun. Don't think they won't. Good morning, ma'am. Thank you. Good morning.
Yep, we got some people popping in, and I don't know if William's going to come back for the end of the show or not. I don't know.
I think he's having some very difficult, but we're coming up on a little over an hour now. So I don't know. We'll give him a little bit longer, see how he comes fares with that. But anyway, what you got planned for tonight?
Tonight at 6 p.m. Central on Midwest Night Watchers, we got the show Piercing the Veil. We're going to have Thomas Cardos from North Carolina Cryptid and Paranormal Project. And we're going to get into some cryptids and some stories about that. And you're on tonight, right?
Yeah, I'll be on about 7 o'clock with Bettina Moss on her show, and we're going to be talking about a little bit about one of my all-time favorite subjects, werewolves, and the cryptidics. We're going to bring it in, and I'm also going to tell a little story, folks, that I've never really told too much. A couple of people know about it, but that might have been a possible run-in with a dog man that I had. So I'm going to talk about that tonight. So it should be an interesting show. Then at 9 o'clock, right after this, I'm going to going into the second next podcast. At 9 o'clock will be Demonology Today. And tonight we're going to get into the giants and the Nephilim tonight on Demonology Today. And that's at 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. So it's going to be a long evening there, folks. I've had 3 podcasts in line today.
Yeah, there's
strike three, you're out. Okay.
There's been some weekends where I do the Saturday, Sunday with you guys, and then I have my own show. Then I'm guest on somebody else's show, and
yeah,
it gets hard sometimes.
We're gonna have to. We're gonna have to either hire us a secretary there, Geryl, something like that.
Somebody needs to keep track of me. I don't know.
Thank you, Raven, for reminding everyone. Our time is getting usual. Somebody asked me how I'm going with the writing. I said, really, I hadn't had time to do it much here lately. I'm going to have to get back in the swing of that. Writing takes a lot of concentration, but most of all, it burns up time, folks. Big time. But I have stayed up many a night till 3 a.m. writing. Oh, yeah. We had a lot of things done in it. And long about then, my writing may turn dark. You never know.
Well, Tracy said in the chat that William's still having technical difficulties, so he won't be here for the end of the show. So.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll close it out here in a little bit there.
We'll stay a few more minutes. We'll stay a few more minutes, then we'll get off.
Questions. Take a few more questions here, folks.
So William or Tracy, if you guys are out there, Juno said that emailed William, and so if you can respond to that individual through email. And
Piercing the Veil, episode 15. Now, Thomas Carlos. I've been on these shows. He's a really good guy. I like it with Tom. He knows his stuff, that man does. He's a good fisherman, too, by the way. I saw his pictures the other day when we went on a fishing expedition. Thank you, Tracy. We'll get that done. I don't get any email. People are afraid to email me, girl. I don't know why. I'm daring you out there, people, okay? Go ahead and email me and see what happens. Well, we like questions. I like observations. I like all that kind of stuff. Who knows? You might be in my next book.
yep, never know.
Never know. Never know. I've added some people in there. Yes, sir. And there's no giants, grizzlies on the hunt. Yep, he really is grizzly too.
Oh, looks like Melissa has a question for you.
Oh, good. Okay, question is, well, when you dealt with the demon possession a few weeks ago, what are the uses of the different crucifixes and the differences? I know the steel and look quite like a large nail. Steel, which is iron, it was actually iron. Iron is a big factor against demonic things. They hate it just as much as silver. They don't like it. It's good, really good against elemental type spirits. If you're dealing with that situation. But there are, my favorite cross crucifix would have to be the St. Benedict crucifix, because demons really hate St. Benedict, and that's why I like him. He was a very holy man, and he once told the devil to take your own poison and drink it yourself. I'm not going to have anything to do with it. So St. Benedict was really big force against demons, and they really hate him. So I like St. Benedict. Benedict cross is very good. Crucifix is really good.
So Juno said they emailed you too, Dennis. So you might
Oh,
have one lost in your
that was-
email somewhere.
I'll have to check that, make sure it's working right. And I'll check that out, Juno. If I don't get the email, I'll contact you on Messenger. Okay, you can do that. That's a fail-safe device, by the way, just in case. But my email is ghostwolfdc@gmail.com, just in case.
And if
But
anybody
anyway,
wants to get a hold of me and Jane, you can go to midwestnightwatchers@gmail.com.
There you go. Yeah, are you familiar, Geryl, with the Australian Night Watch group?
No.
Yeah, there is a group of Australian Night Watch group. So I can't think, trying to think of the exact name of it, but that always reminds me of your thing when I hear about them. But I'll have to send you a link to it one day and let you check them out. They're a big group in Australia, and they're almost, I think, as popular as ghost hunters down there.
Wow.
From what I understand. Yep.
There's William's email.
Yep.
If anybody wants to send William some questions or
Codaman333@gmail.com. I actually do have a Gmail. It's just Dennis W. Geryl@gmail.com. I never do use it.
well, they
several
brought that
Gmails.
up, but I thought you always used the Ghost Wolf, so I didn't bring that up on screen. But I guess they can contact you at both. I don't know.
Okay, well now your spelling's off on that one. You left an R out of that one, Raven. Sorry. I have some extra R's and L's in there. Okay. But I think it still works. I don't know. I have to check it out and see.
Well, I think
But
it's about time that
yeah, if any more questions, we're about to hang it up here now. Okay. Yeah, we need some thumbs up. We want some subscriptions out there, folks. So spread the word. Share if you care. Ring our bell. Do whatever it is. Make sure you subscribe. We want to get all our subscribers back unless we lost originally. Share if you care. Share, like, heart. Put it out there.
Since YouTube changed some of the rules, you can you no longer have to have 1,000 subscribers to be monetized. So if everybody can share out William's channel and our channel and get some subscriptions up, William can monetize and he can start getting the internet paid for or help pay for his StreamYard and services, and that would help him out a lot and help us all out. And
matter of fact, I'm gonna be having my own YouTube channel too, along with what I'm doing with William here, and it's gonna be the Midnight Road YouTube channel. I'm gonna be producing that video series very soon, Midnight Road Excursions into the Unknown. And of course, I'll be starting my podcast up very shortly, okay? And it's going to be Hunting the Shadows. And that's going to be on Wednesday nights. I think, was it 10? Yeah, 10 o'clock Wednesday nights. And we're looking forward to that in the next week or so here. It's coming up, folks.
So, yeah, all the normal shows that William has going on. We have the Friday night shows, and you guys alternate those between Red Rabbit Hole and Becoming Monsters
Midnight Monsters, yeah.
Yep.
And Saturday and Sunday Paranormal Brew. I always lump them together. Saturday and Sunday Paranormal Brew show. We got your whole weekend covered, folks.
Yep. So then throughout the week, me and Jane have our show, we have Piercing the Veil on Sunday. Then we have on Wednesday, early Thursday morning at 12:30 a.m. we have Night Owl Lounge, where we talk to everybody in the chat and go get stuff going on. Then you have your show coming up on Wednesdays, and so Wednesday's going to be a very busy day for a while.
Well, they keep us out of trouble, maybe, for a while. All right. Well, we really thank you for watching today. And we hope William gets himself straightened out there, find out what's going on with his problem. Well, we really appreciate you listening and that you'll tune in to us tonight. And we hope you have a great Sunday and a weekend and a week ahead. And try to stay cool, okay, folks?
All right. We're going to sign off, and we'll see you next time. And love and peace to everybody, and be kind to others if you can. Bye, everybody.